Hello, soul friends. This is Mary, and welcome back to my channel. Today's pick a card reading is going to be all about just anything that you need to hear today from your guides, anything you need to hear about your life path, about what's on your mind right now. We shall be using these decks today. This one is an independent, more independent seller, so I will make sure to link her in the description box. This is the first edition of this deck. She's since made like a version that's a little bit more saturated in color, but I liked the backs on these ones. The backs were changed on the newer version, and so as well as the foil. I think the foil on them are now blue, and so I still use both. But yes, her name's Emma Zhang, and I will put her in the description box so that you can find her on Etsy and Instagram. So anyway, yeah, remember, no matter your individual beliefs, tarot or oracle reading is your spirit guides coming forward to give you advice, or it's simply your subconscious mind helping you answer life's ponders. No matter how you look at that, it's healthy, and you are in the right place right here. Okay. So, without further ado, go ahead and just feast your eyes on your lovely cards, as well as your rocks or crystals we have right here. I don't even remember what this is. It's like, I think it's jasper or yellow jade. I can't remember. I think it's yellow jade. Okay. And then this one I think is chrysocolla. This was given to me by a student a long time ago. It's very sparkly. And then I had it in my classroom for years and years and years. Okay, just right now. And then we have this. I'm not sure what it is. As you can see, it's also kind of sparkly. It's kind of like a mix of gray and green. And some onyx for group 4. All right, go ahead and pause if you need. We will see you in your individual readings. Bye. Hello, group 1. So if you picked this image, this is what it says in your oracle message. Thank you. It's like image, message. This is a message. This is an image. Words. Okay. So this right here, I feel like some of you have a dream and you need to believe in your dream and follow your dream. So some of you have some aspirations, some hopes, right? Some motivation towards something that might seem like it's too big to, hope for. It's too big to want to try to get it, or too big to work towards it because it's not realistic, etc. Your guides are saying that whatever this dream is of yours, that it is realistic, that it is something that you can achieve, to not hold yourself back because of doubt, etc. Also, some of you may just be here because you have prophetic dreams and you don't really know it yet, because I feel like they might manifest for you in kind of a weird way. I'm trying to think of an example, but I can't because I don't think that I've had prophetic dreams, but and I didn't know what they meant, but then once the thing happened, then I was like, oh, that's what that dream meant, And it feels like that could be the case. You might be like, why do I have these dreams if I don't understand them enough to do anything about them or see anything that's coming or whatever. Your guides are saying to believe in your dreams. They are coming for a reason. Even the weird ones that I call them psychology dreams, right? Like the one where all your teeth break out or fall out is usually a sign that you have something in your life that you feel like you're losing control over in some way. What else do I want to say about that? Yeah, all of your dreams kind of mean something. Even the ones where you're like, why was I with that person? I'm not even attracted to them. Well, chances are you want to connect with them in some way. And for some reason, your brain decided to be, a perv. All right, let's get you some tarot and just see about your individual situations, maybe. Spirit, that would be good. I felt these ones too, believe it or not. Okay. We have the Four of Cups. Yes. Page of Cups. Oh, I like this Page of Cups. It's very... I love how soft these cards are. Even the ones that are in the second edition that are brighter are also very, very, very cool. Very soft lines. Like watercolor, kind of, but not. Seven of Cups. I want to cover this up. It's so pretty. Queen of Swords. The Hermit. And the Ten of Swords. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm going to get something very specific out of the way. Somebody in this group is contemplating sobriety. I know the Devil card is usually the card that comes up for like addiction and things like that. But for my experience, the Seven of Cups also carries that energy. For me, it comes up a lot when somebody is like a heavy drinker or, you know, some other kind of addiction hang up is happening when that card pops up. So I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. Your dream might be to not be a slave to that anymore in some way, or to not be connected to it in such a way that it's like disrupting your life and your relationships. And don't worry, I'll get to the rest of you in a second. Your guides are, you know, see how she's staring into these cups? Usually the Four of Cups shows somebody like looking off in the distance, and like there's one cup being handed to them and they're not looking at that one, but they're not really looking at the other ones either. In this particular card, she seems to be looking at, like, holding and looking into them, and then there's this like other cup up here that would fill her more, sustain her more, bring more joy, bring more abundance, but she's still stuck here. That's also kind of speaking to me of some kind of an addictive tendency. It doesn't have to be like alcohol or drinking. I think my guides show me the Seven of Cups for addiction because I used to have like quite a problem with alcohol. And so, yeah. So your guides are saying to be a friend to yourself, be a friend to your emotions, okay? That the answer is up here, not here. And I think you know that you're dreaming of like living that life. Like when I was a kid and I started to become obsessed with drinking even before I tried it, right? I didn't realize that's what was happening, but it's something that happened. I got very romanced by the idea of like the people, the adults that really looked like they were put together, because growing up, my parents were kind of unconventional and they struggled a lot. Like my dad struggled with mental illness, things like that. And my mom struggled because she was with my dad, you know, like things like that nature. He was also a bit of a drinker. Okay. He was recovered for 30 some years before he passed. But, oh, I lost my stupid train of thought because I was thinking about my stinking parents. Yeah, they were kind of unconventional. They didn't look like they always had it together to me, even at a very young age. And so that scared me. They were kind of hippies. And so in the 80s and 90s, people looked down on them for kind of looking like that or kind of living like a less conventional like lifestyle. My dad had an unconventional job at the time. He was a male nurse, and I remember kids like giving me a hard time for that at school, that my dad was a male nurse. Stupid stuff like that. Anyway, and so it was really important to me, to like emulate these other adults that I saw that looked like they had all their stuff together. And the ones that always looked like the most put together and suave and cool were drinking these cool little colorful drinks in these cool little glasses that looked like nothing that we had in our kitchens, right? And it just looked so, and they were always having these discussions and there was piano music in the background. And I got obsessed with like, I want to be that. I want to sit there and look like that, right? And that's not what you end up looking like if you drink heavily all the time. Not even close, right? Because I was like doing that when I was a kid, you know, like a very young kid. I think I was like 13 when I first got drunk, right? You know, then it became really cool to be the party kid, right? The rebel, the Generation X little like freak, right? So like those kinds of things were like totally in my head. I wanted to be that. But then there was this other part of me, and this is the part that I'm talking about with you. This other part of me that admired and respected people that abstained from it, that were able to go into that environment even and not get sucked into it. I had a lot of respect for people who had problems with alcohol and then quit, because my dad was sober by the time I started really forming memories, you know, and so he was always very vocal about, you know, recovery like I am. And so it just kind of was like this dual me, right? And I feel that with you. It's like you're dreaming of that accomplishment. You're dreaming of that life. But at the same time, you are missing, you know, what comfort you're getting from whatever this vice is of yours, okay? Whatever this addiction is of yours. Your guides are saying to be a friend to yourself, that, you know, this is why you can't think clearly, and this is why you can't reach your dream kind of feeling. You know, your emotions might be all over the place about it. They're saying to speak your truth. And that doesn't even mean to speak it to other people. It means to speak it to yourself. When I finally went to a meeting, I looked up a bunch on the internet, and then I snuck out of my apartment and I went to one that was called Too Damn Early. And it was like at 6:30 in the morning that only 4 guys were doing because they had to work all day long and night, you know? And so that was the first one I ever went to. And nobody, not a single person there, all 4 of them, not a single one was like, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. And that's what everybody around me was saying. I was like, you're not an alcoholic. You just, sometimes you drink a little too much, you know, that kind of thing. And so speaking your truth, like you don't have to go around like I do to people and be like, I had a problem with alcohol. You can keep that entirely to yourself. If you want to quit, you don't owe anybody an explanation. You know, if somebody offers you a drink and you say no thanks, you know, yeah, some of them are going to freak out, you know, but like, you don't even have to say, oh, I'm trying to quit. Oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. You don't even have to do that. You can just say, hey, I no thanks. You owe nobody an explanation, but you do owe yourself some truth. Okay. It can be isolating, right? But the fact that you're even contemplating this to the point where you picked this reading and you're still here relating to this is just the people that are in the alcohol addiction section still. The worst is over. This card means the worst is over. I know it looks like such a scary card, especially the original one. But the worst has happened, and now it's only up from here, right? Now you can always dig yourself deeper, right? But you don't have to. It could be a bit of isolation feeling, right? But this is a good type of isolation. It's kind of important sometimes to isolate a little bit so that you can find yourself. All right. Let me see if there's somebody else in here. A dream you have. I feel like in this case, like you're so wrapped up. If it's just an aspiration of a different sort, like not alcoholism or not getting sober, like an aspiration, a dream of, say, okay, I've got this like thing coming in again about like wanting to have friends, like wanting to have that perfect set of friends. I just did a video like yesterday where that kept coming up. So maybe some of the same people are watching, but wanting to find those people that complete you, right? Your guides are showing that like when you want people to complete you so bad, you go seeking them out, which is totally fine. But here's the problem. When you're looking for them because you think that that's what you need to be emotionally okay, that's the other part. And there's a lot of emotions here and a lot of thoughts, right? This idea of I need to find the perfect group and then I'll feel okay. It's not going to happen that way. It very rarely happens that way. So in this particular instance, it's like this would be like the people you're seeking out that like start to disappoint you because you found them. They seem to fit the mold because, you know, who doesn't get along right at first? And then if you don't get along right at first, you just kind of avoid each other, right? It's like when you connect with somebody, you go, oh, you're going to be my friend. You know, these are going to be my friends. This is what I've been looking for. I do this. I've done this. I don't do it anymore. I learned the hard way, babies. I don't do it anymore, my soul friends, but I used to, right? I think I pretty much just overcame that hurdle like this year, like in, I think around summer, I started realizing like, wow, you're still doing this with a couple of people and they're not going to be able to give you what you need, right? So anyway, I'm feeling that. It's like this idealization of some kind of emotional fulfillment from other people. And you're staring into that, looking for them, and you might miss out on the ones that are actually meant for you. And look, there's usually less of them, right? So, Page of Wands is about finding like friends. It's about having a good time with friends, being a good friend, etc., and so forth. They're there. Your friends, your true friends are out there. They just might not take the form that you thought they would. They really messed us up with shows like the show Friends, you know, like that show, you know, it was like they were all, I only watched a couple of seasons when I was a kid. And then I'm just not into like sitcoms. And so like, I thought it was so interesting that then my students started talking about it, you know, a few years ago about like, did you watch Friends? And I was like, yeah, I think I watched it up until Ross and Rachel got together. I would have still been in like junior high at that point. And I remembered saying, like maybe junior high or very early high school, I remember saying like, no, I don't watch that show anymore. And they're like, why? I'm like, because it's supposed to be called Friends, not Friends and those two idiots that got together, you know? Ew, gross romance. So anyway, they kind of showed that idealistic, like, you know, 4 to 6 people who are like really, really tight that like can do anything together, and like television and movies and shows just perpetuate this like unrealistic idea. You know, they're living in this like place above that little cafe and they're in New York, and that place would cost, you know, even back then would not have been affordable to like, you know, 2 people, right? It's like they would be living in a shoebox in a basement somewhere with like a bathroom next to their sink, you know, like a toilet next to your sink. Your kitchen sink. That's what living in New York can be like. So, especially when you're like a waitress and a cook or whatever they were when the show started. And I'm not, you know, it's obviously that show's given a lot of people joy. I'm not like ripping on Friends, even though I wasn't like that into it. Like I'm pointing out the inconsistencies in reality, you know, the 4 to 6 people that are still in my life that I consider very true friends. Don't live in the same state as me. They all have different things going on. It might be months before you hear from each other. But when we do hear from each other, there's a lot of love and support and good times, right? And then even like some decent friends that I have in town, I almost never see them either. You know, it's because I'm stuck inside my house all the time. But like, I still know they're there. I still know that they're like my people. If I need something, I can get in touch with them and they will be there for me. were they in any way, shape, or form the people that I was aspiring to be those special friends? Nope. Not even close. Like a couple of them, I wouldn't have even, if you would have shown me a lineup of these people and been like, these are going to be your closest friends by the time you're 43, I would have been like, what? How? And it's not like because they look weird or funny to me. It was because of like age differences, belief differences, orientation differences, political differences, whatever you want to look at. And yet that's who ended up being in my life, And so that's kind of what your guides are saying. It's like the special people are here for you, but they're not going to be in that. It's probably not going to look how you're envisioning it. It's probably not going to be exactly what you thought it was going to be. I'm a firm believer in kind of sitting back and letting things happen organically, And then I'm also, and this is new to me, I'm a firm believer in when you make a friend with somebody, ease into it slowly, It's because otherwise it can turn into like, is it trauma bonding? Is it, they're interested in you and showing a lot of interest in you. And so you're like, yay, I have this friend. But then you realize that like they're, a narcissistic sociopath that was just like grooming you for some weird stuff, right? Like friends can try to groom friends. It's very strange. And once it starts happening to me, I'm like, I gotta go, I can't do this anymore. So yeah, that kind of thing. Like I think some people make friends very easily and they have very good instincts towards them. But generally, like if you're watching this and your dream is like, I want to find the perfect friends, you might be a little bit more like me. You might be somebody who's like, who had relationships growing up that, in a lot of cases, even within the home, could have been like quite toxic or dysfunctional. And so then you go out into the world and you're like, why does everybody I date end up just like my abusive father? Or why does everybody that I make friends with end up betraying me like my B-word sister? Or why do I find, make friends with people who criticize me and run me down just like my mother did? Those kinds of things. And so that's kind of what I'm feeling for that group. It's like, because you're so busy looking, pretty soon you can't see clearly about what you want or even who you're with because you've taken on so many, or like the ones that you have are creating so much emotional turmoil inside you that you don't even realize it yet. Okay. And again, the main thing to do in that particular instance is to own your truth, be honest with yourself. One of the things that I do, if somebody that you think is your friend causes your blood pressure to go up, even when you're not fighting, even when everything seems to be okay, if you find that your friend is somebody that you walk on eggshells around, like, oh, if I tell them this about myself, I better just not tell them because they wouldn't want to be my friend anymore. Well, then they're not your friend because they should accept all of you, right? I can be friends with people who have political differences from mine. But I know a lot of friends who didn't feel the same way, And so even though I'm the same person that I was before, right? And by politics, I don't just mean like who you vote for. I mean like politics on like where you stand on like drugs, where you stand on, sexual orientation, where you stand on, your religious beliefs or your spiritual beliefs. It can really like get people away from you because they're like, oh, I didn't know you feel like that. Like, I don't know if you ever watched that show, Malcolm in the Middle. The mom is friends with this like lady and they're just having coffee and having a great time. They've never had an issue. And then, one of them like gives their stance on like pro-life and one of them gives their stance on pro-choice. And the other one's like, I didn't know you felt like that. And the other one looks at her, I didn't know you felt like that. And then all of a sudden they just weren't friends anymore, Neither of them were in a position to have to make a choice or, to choose life or to choose choice, right? But because they knew that the other one disagreed with one or the other, all of a sudden they just couldn't be friends anymore. That would indicate or be a good, starting point of being like, that's not a friend. If you have to walk on eggshells around them, if everything you tell them, they kind of put a negative spin on it or correct you in certain ways. And then if you really want to put it to the test, like, man, you correct me a lot. That's something that people do to me a lot. And it's weird because I don't correct anybody. If you're out there living your life and you're not working for me, or you weren't a student of mine. And even with my students, even if we weren't, unless I was observing them behavior wise, like in the hall or something, and they broke a rule, yes, then I would go and correct them. But if we were like out in the world and they made a grammatical mistake in how they were speaking, I didn't go, and tell them like, you better not say it that way. People misspeak. It's not a grammar lesson for me 24/7. It never was. Right. And one of the things that you can do to really put them to the test when you start noticing that they're correcting you all the time, or like not even just correcting you, but I take it as like giving you like warning or unsolicited advice. Like, I don't know, are you sure that's what you want? Maybe you should try this. Maybe you should try that. And you haven't asked them what you should try. You haven't asked them for those suggestions. Point it out to them. The way that they calmly, don't be like, I don't appreciate you correcting me all the time, Cheryl, but, like, point it out to them, like, I appreciate what you're saying, but like, I'm not actually looking for like a solution. I'm just venting, or I'm going to have to disagree. I feel like I am doing fine in my relationship, right? So many people question how I'm doing in my relationship because I don't talk about my relationship except for like to you guys, right? And people just automatically assume, oh, well, they've been together for so long. They don't have any kids, They must just be like brother and sister at this point, right? Or, you don't talk about him, so you must not like him, It's like, no, I don't talk about him because I don't want unsolicited advice about somebody I've been with for 25 years that I have learned and grown with, that I can talk to about pretty much everything. Yeah, everything. Even if it's something that he can't understand, he's still going to hear me out, and vice versa, same for him. And so it's like, I had a friend tell me one day, this is like a sponsor, right? Told me one day, like, oh my gosh, Miriam, I'm never going to lecture you about your relationship again. And I was like, oh yeah? She was like, yeah, because I just realized like you two have been together longer than I have with my husband, because they met later in life. And she was like, I went home and I was like, what am I even doing? They've been together 25 years. I'm pretty sure they have a system that works for them by now. Thank you. And her doing that made me realize like, oh my gosh, so many people do that. It's ridiculous. Like, because we didn't have kids and everybody told us way back when we were like first together, oh, you better not get pregnant before you get out of college. You better not get pregnant before you get married. You better not get pregnant. You better not get pregnant. Even our like peers. All those fools got pregnant besides us. Every single one of them. And then they still kept saying it to us. I finally got to a point with one friend where I was like, how many kids do you have? He's like, 2. I was like, alrighty. How many of those were planned? And he's like, 0. I was like, okay, you don't get to tell me how to not get pregnant anymore. And him being a true friend didn't go, well, I'm just saying that because blah, blah, blah. And I'm just saying this because, he just laughed at himself. We laughed together and we moved on. He never brought it up again, It's okay. That's a perfect test to just kind of like cheerfully, like, hang on a sec, in-laws can be awful, right? And parents, your own parents can like really like give you unsolicited advice as adults that can get kind of like, okay, yes, but, right? Like explaining to your mom when you're like 38 years old, like, Mom, I'm probably not going to regret these tattoos I got because I'm 38 years old, like 15 years from now, I don't think I'm going to regret having them. Right? So, and I think a lot of times people don't see you changing and growing as much as they see themselves changing and growing. And so they're like, maybe I should tell them. And it's like, nope, you don't need to. So like sometimes like good friends can give you that kind of unsolicited advice. But if you kind of point it out to them, you know, that it wasn't needed or whatever, when they flip out on you, get angry, gaslight you, well, guess what? That might not be that energy. That might be this stuff down here. Okay. Okay, so being honest with yourself, these two cards have a little bit of a different pull on this section here. It feels like if you don't go out and look for them, right? If you're not actively putting yourself out there, right? People tell me all the time, you don't put yourself out there. I'm like, well, I can't, Carol. I'm allergic to everything outside. I still go out and do things, you know, it's just a very controlled way that I have to do it. And that's just my life, you know, and I don't owe anybody an explanation for that. But it's like, oh, are you isolating, or you haven't been to meetings in a while? Are you isolating? Like, I don't worry about y'all when you don't come to meetings. I don't automatically think you're out there drinking your face off, you know, but people just worry about what I'm doing all the time. And it feels ridiculous. So like, it might feel like if you don't go out there, put yourself out there, that you're going to be stuck. Right? You're going to be stuck in a hermit for the rest of your life. And that's not true. The hermit card is not negative. It's not like, oh, lonely little lamb forever. I'm not sure what lonely little lamb is. That must be coming from some of your guides, because I've never said that phrase in my entire life. Bizarre. Okay. I love it when those come through, because I feel like, okay, that was somebody's guide saying that specifically for you. I love it when I'm watching other readers do these. Gosh, I can't remember the names of my favorite ones. Okay. I need to start giving them some love on this channel, because they're the reason I started doing these. It's necessary to find yourself and to spend time with yourself. If you can't be alone with yourself, and I get it, we can't. Y'all, I'm probably one of the most isolated people you know, okay? I know I have to get out. I know I have to go do things. I know that it's like not healthy to, you know, even though it's, you know, I can get sick when I go out, or I could die when I go out, you know, those kinds of things are a reality for me. It's still something that I need to like put myself out there a little bit and get some, you know, reach out to someone, you know, find a pocket of time to sit in the sun, like in a sunspot in my car or whatever, you know, like I have to make those conscious things. I'm not saying to hole up and never, you know, go out there again, but like if you are by yourself and you want to climb a wall because there's nobody there to talk to and there's nothing to do and there's nothing you can say and, oh my gosh, I'm going to climb a wall, then that's something you need to look at. You need to start tapping into the hermit energy, because I'll stress this over and over again. You cannot attribute your emotional well-being and contentment to someone else. That's not their responsibility. It's completely on you wonderful people. Is there anything else? Okay, I think that's it for this pile. Let me just get a little bit, like one more card for just a final message from your guides to both of those groups. Temperance, how appropriate for the people who might be, I mean, it's appropriate for both, but like, you know, back when Prohibition happened, they were called the Temperance League, right? And the thing that's funny about that name is that they were all about like abolishing it. Nobody should drink ever. The Temperance card means balancing things, right? And I'm not saying that if you have a raging addiction, chances are you're not going to be able to do it like a normal person for a very, very long time, if ever. Okay. But this shows balance coming back in. It's like, this is what you're on your way for. Like, your dream will be realized if you keep going in the direction that you're going. That's why you're here. That's why your guides brought you here. To find this balance, okay? This balance of being able to be alone and also still enjoy people. The ability to, you know, go out and have a good time and be celebratory, but not getting, you know, so celebratory that you end up with your head in the toilet for the next like 6 days. And like I said, it doesn't have to be alcohol. It can be all kinds of different, addictions. Addictions don't even have to be substances, right? Some kind of a thing. Some people get addicted to people, right? They get addicted to, I was like that in high school. I would get addicted to my friends. And if I couldn't be included in something they were doing, it destroyed my soul. And then I got in a bunch of trouble and had to stay home instead because I was like on probation, that kind of thing. And I got over it. I started getting over it. I was able to enjoy time at home by myself. I especially enjoyed it when I found out the party got busted and I wasn't there. Okay. So that on that very, very, wise and very wise and prophetic line, I will leave it here. If this was helpful, tell me how in the comment section. Give me topic ideas there as well. If you'd like to book a private reading, there are ways to do so in the description box, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. You're on your way. We will see you next time. Bye-bye-bye. Hi, group 2. So if you picked the Chrysocolla Rocky Rock with the cat hair on it, super lucky. Wow, there's like a whole tuft on there. It's because it's so rough. Okay. Let's go ahead. Ooh, that does stay really like that. Let's go ahead and look at your message from your oracle card. Some of you might be water signs or water babies who love to go out and surf and be on the water. Go with the flow. Let things happen. Okay. Not gonna lie, I'm getting romance vibes off this card immediately, so I'm automatically just completely grossed out. Thank you so much. Y'all, no, I'm just kidding. Like, if you're still here getting romance type readings from me, like when they pop up and I get grossed out, then you must enjoy the messages and you must be at least somewhat okay with the style that I employ, which is like gross romance. I don't like it. And this is funny. I didn't do this with the other group as much, but here we are. So if this is romance for you and you're wondering about romance, you've got romance on your mind, a big romance in your heart, whether it's going good or bad, I feel like it's going well for this group, okay? But I feel like it might not feel like it is because you might not be going with the flow, okay? So let me pick on these guys for a while, and then I'll see if there's other messages in here for other people. One of the things that I notice a lot, and I've noticed over the course of my life as a woman, being around other women and how they feel about romance. And I've done this. I did this back in the day, okay? Of worrying about where is it going? What's going to happen? Are we going to stay together forever? Is it always going to feel like this? Is he going to call? Why did he sound lovey the other day and not very lovey today? When's he going to call? All of that and men do it too. I'm not just picking on the gals. I got interrupted and it was like thousands of years ago, so I apologize if I repeat anything I said already. No, that's right. I was like, when's he gonna call? What is he gonna do? What's she thinking? Is she seeing somebody else? All those things. We can't, even when you're a tarot reader or a person who can speak with guides or a person who can see the future, we don't get to see the whole thing. And there is no guarantee, because we all have free will, there is no guarantee that your person is never going to hurt you, that they're never going to change their mind, that they're never going to, decide that they want to be with somebody else or leave or whatever. Everybody has free will to make these decisions, the same as you do. If you were to, have the perfect relationship and then you decide to go and have a little something, something on the side, well, you could lose that relationship. It could change it. So, as well it should. So anyway, the whole message of this is to go with the flow. Let it happen. We don't get to see around every corner. We don't get to see everything to know that we're not going to get hurt. And people that have that tendency to want to know around what's around every corner, what's around every corner. It's because something happened usually that we thought everything was fine, and then something happened. And we were like, oh my gosh, I didn't even see it coming. I must not let that happen again. It's impossible. It's impossible. This is something that I have a really hard time navigating in my own personal life. I used to actually, because I'm like a manifester of sorts and I believe in like magic and things like that, I used to think that if I worried myself to death or imagined the worst happening, that would somehow at least prepare me for it and possibly even keep it from happening. But what did that end up doing? Well, it ended up like really putting my already very high, like very high wound PTSD, like into like even more hypersympathetic nervous system overdrive, right? Being hypervigilant, worrying about every little thing, grilling people about what did you do? Where have you been? What is happening? What are your intentions? Watching millions of pick a card readings. What are they going to do? What are their intentions? What's going to happen to me? And generally, even with a lot of, psychic insight, a lot of times the things that we think are going to happen don't play out that way. And so going with the flow and letting things happen the way that they are going to happen is actually a healthier way to do it. And so even if this isn't about romance, I'm feeling like it's still about that kind of energy of, like, for example, career. A lot of people call about career or watch pick a cards about career because it's like, what are they going to do? Is somebody out to get me? What's that one dysfunctional boss or coworker going to, how much damage are they going to like cause me? Who can I trust? Are they going to treat me well? Am I going to get the accolades or the promotions or the stuff that I feel I deserve? Right? And it's hard because there's so many different free wills at play that it's not really something that we can get everything. Even if you're a psychic, you're not going to be able to get to see everything. We're only allowed to see so much. Okay. So going with the flow and seeing where things end up, a lot of times you can be pleasantly surprised at where they do end up, because you end up realizing that, if you had worried about it, you wouldn't have gone and done this, and then this wouldn't have happened, etc. and so forth. Let's get you some tarot about individual situations and advice. Okay. We have the 5 of Cups, not surprised. The 6 of Cups, that definitely plays into the romance bit for sure. The Page of Wands. The 5 of Wands. The Ace of Cups. And the Queen of Pentacles. Okay. I'm trying to keep that in the screen at least a little bit because it's so pretty. Okay. But whatever. You're probably over it. You just want to know what's going on. It's fine. Okay. With the 5 of Pentacles is about worry. It's not about reality. Okay. So this is also one of those things where a lot of times, and I did this with professional work back when I was in education, like it became very apparent to me, like right away, that all the stuff that people told you about the education industry was like not true when I got there. Like they made it seem like if you did well in school and you got a job and you did well at that job, that like you were pretty much going to be secure in that job and you could like spend your whole life there. Oof, that's not what I saw in the world. I saw people getting pushed out of positions. I saw people constantly worried about getting pushed out of position. I saw people being like demoted. I saw people being, revered and respected very highly. And then like one little thing happened and all of a sudden they were just trash, like, and it wasn't even something that warranted it, in my opinion, those kinds of things. I also saw that there was no job security or opportunity when I quit teaching. Everybody was like, when you got into teaching, like, oh, it's going to be a great thing. You'll be hireable in so many other professions because people see, oh, you were a teacher, so you can do stuff. Yeah, no, not in our society, not now. Like, everybody's like, oh, you need a master's degree in whatever, in flipping burgers now, It's so frustrating. And so, that's why I kind of like doing work like this, because it's like the only job that I ever got where like they just said, show me your skill. And I showed them my skill and they were like, you're hired, like, but we don't get health benefits. So that sucks. So anyway, this is about worry. It's not about reality. Okay. So like romance people worrying about the other shoe dropping. Work is coming up a lot too with this card, because I'm looking at individual situations. I feel like some people are constantly worried about, is that coworker are they going to do something to me? Are they going to lay me off? I messed up that email. Is this going to come back to haunt me? Am I going to end up homeless and alone and penniless? I've had a lot of people, and myself too, when I left my profession, was this idea of like, I am going to starve in the streets, I'm going to lose my house, starve in the streets because I don't have any marketable skills now, apparently. And even though I was, pretty good at my position for 13 years, now all of a sudden I'm trash, right? So this is not going to happen, right? The answers are coming. The flow is coming. You just need to go with the flow and look at what's around you instead of looking at what might be lurking around the corner. Look at what is around you, because the Five of Pentacles, they're always so distraught that they don't see this beautiful solution. Okay. And that goes for the romance crowd as well. Other situations. This feels very much like romance and or work. So we're going to stick with those two storylines. And if that's not something that's going on with you, then you can always hop into one of the other piles. So for both groups as well, there's this like need for idealized situations. Like when you first fall in love with somebody, it feels so perfect, so in sync. You both are just as into each other, one is just as into the other, etc. and so forth. But there's that fear of like, will it always be like this? Like kids saying things like, I don't want to like get with somebody and marry them and then they end up becoming like unattractive to me, right? Like they gain a bunch of weight, or something happens to their face, or they start to age or whatever. And they would always ask like, does it feel the same? Does it feel? And I say that puppy love stage, that what they called in Bambi, I think it was Twitter-pated, which is just another fancy schmancy way of saying infatuated. And I'm not saying that you're just infatuated. I feel like the romance crowd really is, this is like a love connection. Okay. You can stay with somebody for 25 years and be very happy with them. That puppy love stage does not stay generally. Okay. That need to see each other, my husband doesn't ask me to just fall asleep on the phone with him now so he can listen to me breathe, Isn't that gross? Or, from a payphone, because we didn't have cell phones. Isn't that romantic? Isn't that so romantic? It just makes you want to puke. It's like, obviously we don't do that now, right? We don't run to each other and embrace every time we get home, like it's, we still get happy to see each other. We're still like, yay, you're home, if the other one's been gone for a long time. But there's not that, we were like that every time, you went into the kitchen, I missed you. It fades. And it's hard to like think about it fading when you're in the throes of it, because the throes of it do the exact same things to your brain that cocaine does to people who use cocaine. That rhymed. And nobody wants to quit cocaine once they start doing it. That's why I never tried it. All the people that did it kept doing it, you know? And I was like, man, I already hate life so much. And it's so hard to get through life, like just in my own head. Like, there's no way I'm trying any of the hard stuff like cocaine or heroin or any of that, because I know I won't come back from that. Whatever that, it must feel fantastic, because all the people I saw that got into it had a really hard time getting out of it. So that being said, you don't want it to ever end. You don't want it to, and you're worried that if it starts to change or fade, that means that things are going to get stale and you're not going to like each other anymore. And that's not true. Like, if I were to go back to relive that time in my life, I would actually only do it to do things differently, to appreciate it more, but to be like relaxed, because I had a lot of that energy. Oh my gosh, this is going so great. But so was that other relationship I had before I got cheated on, And I thought that was all great too. But it's, there were key differences. But of course, because I didn't see that other one coming at all, because I was a stupid kid, and there were warning signs, that he wasn't as into me as I was into him, right? Especially, when he cheated, that was a pretty dead giveaway. But, there was behaviors before that I was way totally in, and he was like, not, right? But I didn't want to admit that. I didn't want to think that. And, sorry if it sounds like I'm crying. I'm actually trying not to burp because I'm drinking a big Coca-Cola. I had to say Coca-Cola because I didn't want you to think I was doing that other stuff. They're like, are you sure, Miriam? Oh, trust me, I'm sure. I'm generally not having any fun ever. So anyway. It fades for a reason, and it's okay. Like, you will adjust. It's not like it's just going to go away one day. And you're going to be like, where is it? I want it back. It doesn't happen like that. It's a very gradual subsiding, just like when you get like a new friend or a new puppy or whatever, and you can't stop talking about it, and everybody's tired of hearing about it, every little thing, or having a new kid, everything's so cute, and like all the people that have already had kids and puppies don't give a crap, And like, they might even like warn you, oh, don't get too wrapped up in that, things will change, don't listen to those guys, just enjoy it while it lasts. There's going to be new passions that come in, okay? For those of you that are worried about career, there's also something from your past. I feel like maybe, yeah, thank you. It's like when you get your job that you really, really wanted. You went through college, you did all the things, you did the resumes, you did networking before, internships, what have you, right? You even did volunteer work in your field so you could network more. I did all those things. And then you get the job, right? And like, you're so excited. It's so ideal. It's so, it's like that world is embracing you. You're embracing it. You feel like you've arrived, even if it's just like, taking concessions in the school you work in now, or like, getting your first patient intake, or, going in and welding your first piece of steel or whatever it is, right? Putting cuffs on your first perp. I don't know. But I have so little idea of what people do for a living because I can't leave my house. I have no idea what anything looks like anymore. So, forgive me if I'm not coming up with like realistic work examples, but it's so ideal and wonderful that you don't want anything to come along and mess it up. There's also that feeling of, for the career people, that like possibly you were new a while ago and that's what it felt like in the beginning, but now that you've been there for a while, the cracks are starting to show. Oh, yep. Somebody's guide said, no, this is about the romance too. Okay. So they say that a couple, are most likely to break up between the 3 to 5 year mark in their relationship if they're not going to make it past 5 years. And the reason why is because you start to like not, you idealize each other so much, even to the point where you might kind of temper or change your personality a little bit around that person to keep them interested, right? And then pretty soon that veneer starts to slip because you have to live with each other. Okay. So you have to see each other when you're frustrated. You have to see each other when you're scared. You have to see each other when you're angry with each other. You start to get angry with each other sometimes and you're like, oh no, what's happening? What's happening? And it feels so scary. And you start worrying about stuff like this. I'm going to be alone forever. I'm going to be broke and homeless because this job isn't going to work. I'm going to yada, yada, yada. Okay. That's again, go with the flow. It's not going to stay Twitter-pated, hunky-dory, the stars have aligned and everything's wonderful, okay? But if you keep working on looking for new passions within that sphere, either the romance sphere or the career sphere, you are going to find new passions. You're going to discover new layers to it, okay? One of the reasons I would not go back to the ideal time that I had with both my career and my partner is the fact that I'm in a place now where I know things I didn't know before. I've healed things that I hadn't healed yet. I understand things better. I'm still stressed, don't get me wrong, but I've got a lot less stress in my life, than I did daily, because in my career it was always so much coming at me with both the empath aspect of like people's energy affecting mine and being in a place where emotions run so high and energy runs so high, like a school, that it got to be too much. Like, and I totally realize now that like the condition that I have, whatever this autoimmune thing is that I have, it was exacerbating it. It was getting worse because of just the empath vibe, right? So it's like, I wouldn't go back now because I've found new passions. I've found new things. There's things with my partner that I took for granted before that I don't take for granted now, etc. Okay. So new passions are going to come in. As you learn and move forward and go with the flow, new things are going to hear, oh, that's why this is how it is, right? Or, oh, I was so worried that, if I gained weight or they gained weight, that we were going to like not want to be with each other anymore. And guess what? We're fine. Things like that. I don't know. I'm picking stupid examples today. It's because my head's in 16 places. I hate it when it feels like that. Yep. Anyway, okay. This is also about not letting the... It's so funny that there's so many things that I learned in AA, but like one of the things that I loved the most were their little quips that they would say, like, you're only sick as your secrets. There were some that I couldn't stand, it works if you work it, things like that. But like at the same time, like they were all relevant. And one of the things they referred to the normies, right? The people out there that aren't an alcoholic trying to get recovered, right? They called them the committee. And like the committee could be real people, or they could be like a committee in your head. But this card is talking about to avoid that committee energy, okay? That rat race. Everybody's in each other's like space. Everybody's in each other's business. Everybody's like super, I don't know. Like for the work people, like I'm seeing those like work meetings where it almost always ends with like somebody in the room getting somewhat combative, or somebody in the room getting somewhat, I don't know, what's the word? What's an all gender inclusive word for B-wordiness? that kind of sulky, underhanded, like comments, argumentative, and you leave and you're like, oh, that could have been an email. It would have been so much easier, your guides are saying to try to avoid that. The committee will also give you a lot of unsolicited advice about your job, about your placement in your job. You could be doing great at your job, but then you have somebody come in and tell you, oh, why aren't you doing it like I do it? Maybe you should do it this way. And like, there's no rules that say you have to do it that way. It's like, it's okay to have your own style in some aspects of your profession. Beware of those people, thank them for their time and then just keep doing what you want. They'll figure out that you're not going to listen to them. And like, when you don't go to them and be like, I'm not going to take your advice. I'm just going to do what I want. Just kind of, be like, oh, wow, thanks. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you telling me that. And then, they leave and you go, yeah, no, that's not happening. Right. The same thing with the committee when it comes to like romance. And we've talked about this on this channel a lot with the romance stuff. Like, there's always those people who want to give you that unsolicited advice and also give you cautionary advice, right? Cautionary. Oh, well, have you met their family? Oh, do they know about your blah, blah, blah? Don't you think that's something important that you should maybe tell them? Stupid stuff like that. I get so irritated by it because even when I stop to think about, even when I stop to think about like, oh, have you thought about doing this? I usually don't say anything because I don't want to offend them in case they already thought of it, right? And even to the point where like, maybe I should have said something and then something happens and they're like, if I would have known. And I'm like, oh, I knew and I didn't say anything. Well, definitely not going to say anything now. I'm very much like a hands-off person with other people. Like, they need to live their life and make their decisions. And I don't feel qualified to like give advice that much, to like nitpick a person about everything they're doing. If they're doing something in a certain way, and I'm like this with cats, I'm like, well, I assume they have a good reason, right? Now, can that get me into trouble? Oh my gosh, absolutely. It totally can. But at the same time, it keeps me out of this energy a lot more than others. That's for sure. So something to think about there. And this is an abundant thing. I feel like with the job too, that you're headed towards Queen of Pentacles energy with the romance and the job, in the sense that this is actually on a really good track. Yes, people can change their minds and things can change, but usually they don't happen overnight. Usually there was something happening before and like we either didn't look at it or whatever. And I'm not seeing that going on for you guys. I'm seeing the worry of that going on and I don't see it happening. Okay. I see the worry of it coming down the pike, but I don't see it actually coming down the pike to you. Right. It's okay to lean into, I'm going to ask you to practice this. This is something I have to practice all the time and it sucks. No, I'm just kidding. It's just difficult for me to sit back and actually make your mind play it through it working out the way you want it to. It's okay. You don't have to tell anybody that you had this fantasy in case it doesn't work out and you'll feel embarrassed. Like, just lean into that. Make your mind go through it from start to finish and then say, I'm excited for it to come out this way. I'm excited, instead of I'm worried that this is going to happen. I'm worried that's going to happen. I'm worried somebody is going to mess me over and I'm not going to see it soon enough. You say, I'm so excited for us to keep moving forward. I'm so excited to keep improving in my job and learning new things and getting new passions. I'm so excited to see what happens beyond this, right? Because it's leading to this overflowing joy, abundance, and happiness, and love, gross, and feeling secure. Okay. Queen of Pentacles is secure. She also isn't like out there taking a bunch of action. Like, the Pentacles aren't usually like the action crew too much, or they're at least a little bit slower moving than the other suits. Suits? I don't even know my words anymore. So, and this is a lucky time. Remember, the Queen of Pentacles has the bunny rabbit, which is about luck. Okay. It's also about having courage, that you're living in a crazy, sometimes very cruel world, and yet you still choose to step into it and live your life and aim for this. It's okay to imagine getting this. from these situations instead of being worried that something's going to come along and mess it up for you. Okay. I worried about something coming along and messing up my teaching profession for me over and over and over. Not a single thing that I was worried about happening actually happened the way I worried it was going to, right? So let's just get a little bit more advice for you to close us up. Two of Wands. Yep, you're just at the beginning. Five of Cups. Don't focus on the past and what you lost in the past. You will miss out on what you still have. Okay? She still has this cup, but she's crying about all these other spilled cups, right? But there's still 2 cups that are okay. So focus on what you have. Focus on what you've accomplished. Focus on the good rather than the bad. These are both about, making a choice. Okay? And lastly, 8 of Wands. You're on a fast track to good things in both of these categories. It's wonderful. The sun is rising. This is a time to rejoice and not worry. And with that, I shall leave you. If this was helpful, tell me how in the comment section. Give me topic ideas there as well. If you'd like to book a private reading with me, there are ways to do so in the description box, my friends. I appreciate you. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye. Hi, group 3, true to form. It's getting dark. You picked this little green rock. I get rocks a lot of times when I order things from like Etsy, like jewelry, and then they'll send you like a little rock, and like, here's a chunk of whatever the F. It really does good with this kind of stuff. And you're like, oh, that's cool. I'll forget that immediately. I always keep the little cards that say it, and then I don't know where I put them. It's so stupid. So here's a little rock. It's kind of green. It's kind of gray. It's sparkly in the gray parts. I don't know. All right, let's go ahead and get you your image and your message. Face your fears. Release the power of fear. Oh my. Oh, some of you, I'm already feeling off the bat, have some scary medical thing you have to go do. To me, it feels like diagnostic. Like you have to go in and get like a bucket of blood drawn to have it analyzed and find out what's wrong with you, right? Something's wrong, but now they have to find out what it is, right? You have to find out how serious it is, how scary it's going to be, how debilitating, how expensive, all of those fun, wonderful things that comes with health and the fear of things. But yeah, good times. And the message coming through is that you're going to have to face it. Like, you can't just like curl up in a little ball and not go, I would rather go to the electric chair. Let's like even get rid of like and we'll get to the one that they usually do in a minute. I'd rather go to the guillotine, the electric chair, the firing squad than I would rather go and get what do they call it when they inject the person, right? Because they have to find a vein, they have to find the bloodline to like inject you with that stuff, right? And here's the thing, I'm not even scared of the stuff that gets into my body, right? Like, I'm not even scared of that happening. Oh, lethal injection, that's what they call it. I couldn't think of it. If I ever had to be executed, I would want it to be firing squad. If I was going, I would want it to be guillotine. I would want it to be an electrocution chair, because like I would even do the platform, like they used to do back in the day, before I would let them try to find my vein to like tap my bloodline. So getting my blood drawn, is just as bad as me having to go in and get lethal injection, except for I don't get to like die, you know? Isn't that the most awful thing you've ever heard? So, like 8 people are just like, I'm never watching this channel again. Tell me which method of execution you would prefer if you were in that highly unlikely situation. Let's hope it's highly unlikely. I would love to hear that in the comments section. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but here we are. So, just getting my blood drawn to find out what I even need to be scared of is scarier than finding out what I need to be scared of. I will say one thing about blood draws. They've gotten better since like the 80s. Okay, the technique has gotten better. I basically need to find a nurse that's about 30 years old. Like 30 to 50 is a good range for a good blood draw person. If she's older, like 60, nope, I don't want you, because you were drawing blood back in the day and you were doing messed up stuff. Just kidding. I have notoriously hard veins too. They roll. Sometimes they can hit the vein, but it won't draw for some reason. Like, you can see them. I mean, I'm pretty flippin' pale, but like, they're problematic. And so, it's just, as a child having to get blood drawn a million gazillion times, I'm traumatized by that. And so now I don't want to do it. And so I totally relate to that, facing the fear of, I mean, I have a friend that has to get blood drawn every 3 months just to like make sure that his kidneys are okay, kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, awesome. I would rather have to deal with a lot of other things than that. You know what I mean? So, release the power of fear. There's lots of different ways to do it. I don't know if I have very good advice for how, because I pretty much suck at it at this point. Some people, I don't know, last blood draw, I did really, really well. That was like yesterday. Yay! Anyway, I survived. It was miserable, but we had some good laughs. So like, part of how I got through the fear from yesterday was going in. I had my 2 favorite little gals at the clinic, helping me, that kind of thing. They're wonderful people. And they know exactly what's going to tip me over the edge and what's not, and very, very good about letting me know that I'm the one in control. If we have to stop, we're going to stop, those kinds of deals. So that's something I kind of want to put out there if this is like medical, because we're still in the medical people still. And then we're going to see if there's somebody else. Part of what helps with facing the fear of like medical stuff I'm hearing coming through is changing the environment from how it was when it sucked for you. Okay. So for generally people who are afraid of doctors and needles and awful things are because either we have very little experience with them, and so it's all new and scary, and we're not sure what to do. And then we also have like a ton of us have past bad situations, like a doctor really crossed the line with you. Report them when they do that, by the way. You can do that. I actually did it a couple of months ago. Anyway, a couple of weeks actually. First time I ever did that, and they deserved it. Let's just say it that way. Sometimes medical professionals aren't very professional. And no, this was not somebody local in the town that I live in. I have nothing but respect for the people in town at this point. So, anywho, the thing to remember is you're the one in charge, okay? Even if there's like a nurse or a doctor standing there saying, disrobe, and then the doctor will be in to see you in a minute. Every time they tell me to do that, I say, no, I'm going to talk to the doctor first, and then I'll disrobe. And they look at me like they're going to argue with me. And I'm like, look at my chart. Look at my chart. Where it literally says that that's what we have to do. And we've already worked this out before, that kind of thing. You're the one in charge. If you want to leave, you can leave. If they're like, you can't, you need to sign a medical release form, you can tell them, I'll be in my car then, come find me. Okay. Now here it's a lot easier for them to find you in your car than it would be at like a hospital, so I get that. But, come to the waiting room. I'll sign it, but I'm not staying here. Those kinds of things. If they're, sewing something up or digging a piece of glass out of your foot or whatever, and you start feeling like something is wrong, you say, can we stop? Can you give me more numbing agent? We need to stop. I'm uncomfortable. I'm sorry, what did you say to me? I'm sorry, what was that? That comment made me uncomfortable. Like they're the ones that you're the one in charge, not them. Okay. They are just there to give you care. And so part of like helping release the fear for me is knowing that at any point, no matter what, I can just leave. If they actually tried to physically restrain me, they're the ones that are going to be in trouble, not me. Even if I probably ended up having to use physical force to get them to not restrain me, which I'm not above doing that, let me tell you, especially if I get cornered and my PTSD kicks in. Like, you're going to trigger my instinct to fight you, And so that's something to remember. If they say, hey, you better take this drug, and you look up the side effects and you're like, ooh, this says I'm going to bleed out of my eyeballs and my skin's going to fall off. But it's supposed to help me sleep great. You can say, yeah, I didn't feel comfortable with the side effects of that. And if they start arguing with you about, well, those side effect things, those are just in very extreme cases and blah, blah, blah. Well, I hate to break it to you, sunshine, but the statistics mean nothing to the individual that it happens to, right? Especially when the only thing that you needed to do to prevent it was not take the drug. So you're the one in control. You're the one in charge. You don't have to do any treatment. You don't have to do any drugs. You don't have to put up with people who aren't speaking to you in a respectful manner. It's very, very much you're in the control seat when it comes to the, healthcare profession, despite what they like to try to tell you. Okay. And I know that, a lot of us have been through situations where that is not what happened. We were not the one in control because somebody was violating us, right? Oof. Speaking of that, this is sensitive. How do I say this? A message is coming in. This is pretty specific. That maybe somebody hurt you, SA'd you, exerted will over you in an illegal fashion, let's say. And part of facing the fear for that particular person or persons, it feels very specific. The facing fear component for you is probably speaking up about it, telling someone. Okay. And I know that's so hard. There's so many things that the fear for that kind of thing is so widespread because it's not just fear of that perpetrator. It's fear of people's opinions. It's fear of people, retaliating who weren't even involved. There's fear of legal repercussions if you can't prove your case. There's fear of all of those things. And so if that's the case, I highly recommend calling, if you're in the US, 988, if you're in the UK, 111, if you're in a different region than that, like Australia or India. I get a lot of people from that. Google, crisis hotline, national crisis hotline for whatever country you're in. And generally you'll find a version of 988, 111. Where it's not just people who are there to talk you down from self or unaliving yourself. It's more any type of thing. They can tell you if, yeah, that was abuse, you need to call the cops, things like that. And so that was a very specific message. I'm so sorry for whoever that is. And that's a huge fear to face in so many different ways. A lot of the fear that comes around things like that is the fear that You have to admit that it happened. And it's not, you didn't do anything wrong, but you constantly, your mind just naturally goes there of like, why did I do this? Why didn't I do that? I feel ashamed because I didn't handle, if I tell somebody, that means it really happened. And then people will look at me like I'm a victim forever or whatever, right? What else, Spirit? Fear of health and health procedures. I feel like some of you are just scared of like what they're going to find in the health category. Like yesterday I didn't have cancer. Once they get the results back, I might have to be like, oh, hey, I have cancer, and tell people that. It's the same thing with like, hey, I was like assaulted. Then it becomes even more real, right? Instead of just like, it was, it's traumatizing enough or scary enough that you'd rather just not think about it, those kinds of issues. So like, that's pretty heavy stuff, guys, both of those scenarios. What else is coming through? I'm hearing somebody, there's a horse here. I'm hearing somebody being afraid. Okay, there's like a component in this. It's like somebody who might be getting into med school type stuff for like veterinary medicine, like working with animals, or I don't know what you call it, as animal husbandry. What are they? I don't know. I can't be around very many animals, so like the only kind of animals I can never be around are like some birds, because I'm not allergic to feathers, some breeds of cats, not all of them, and sugar gliders and chinchillas for some reason don't stir up my allergies at all. I don't know what that is. Every kind of dog, horse, all the other ones that are furry and cute, they will get me. So anyway, I feel like some of you are like, the fear of like working medically on somebody that can't tell you what's going on. That's real. I get that. I get it. That's like probably one of the most stressful jobs. And then their owner is the one you have to answer to and talk to. So you're getting like secondhand information from somebody who may or may not know what they're talking about, right? You're getting emotional responses from the person that you're not treating. And I get it, like healthcare professionals go through the same thing. Like feeling nervous about drawing blood off of somebody because you know how so many people can't stand it, Shots are a little bit different because you at least just like poke them and shoot this stuff in. And yeah, it hurts and it sucks, but you're not trying to find a vein, right? Oh God, I gotta stop talking about that. How many people have tattoos that were scared of needles, and people would be like, why are you scared of this when you have so many tattoos? Like, well, Carol, because they're only going through like the first 8 layers of my skin on the tattoos, whereas you are stabbing into one of my arteries. IVs are even worse. I can't. Oh, I can't be around it. Okay. Anyway. But yeah, being worried. And then there's like one like energy coming in of like being scared of riding a horse for the first time or getting near horses is coming through. So like maybe, I don't know, like maybe you do rodeo and you're scared about that kind of horsey riding or animal riding. Maybe you're getting into, maybe you're doing like animal therapy where they're going to teach you how to pick the horse's leg up or get on the horse without spooking it. Or I don't know. I don't know much about animal stuff because I can't be around them. But something along the lines of working with animals either in health or just like having to be around them. Interesting. And the thing with horses that's interesting is they respond to like your fear, sort of like dogs do. I mean, all animals do, but they're like a little more outward about how it affects them. And horses are big and they can kick you to death, dogs are, they can bite you to death, those kinds of things. And so your facing of that fear is, see, she's not afraid of it, right? She's even blindfolded. She's not even looking where it's going. It's just taking her, right? Part of it is with the animal people, you know, and obviously, no, don't just like walk up to a dog and be like, I'm going to trust you. Or a horse for that matter. But like if it's, you know, you're in a controlled environment and you got to do what you got to do, you know, sometimes it's kind of good to just relax and let the animal kind of take the lead a little bit. I know that sounds so weird. I can't really describe it better than that. Interesting. Okay, what else is coming through? And then if there's like a fear that I haven't thought of, like I see like some fear of career, some fear around romance. There's a lot of that in group 2 if you want to check that out, if you're in those 2 categories. The other one's not so much. That was going with the flow. Okay, let's go ahead and see individual situations and advice. Now that I already talked your ears off for 20 minutes, let's actually give you some solid advice from your guides. Hello, hello. Mm-hmm. When you watch readers and they like pick cards like that, or like there's been so many times where like they'll be shuffling and then like a bunch of cards will fall out and they'll be like, that's too many. And I'm like, wait, there was one in there for me. I just know. I wonder if that ever happens to you guys when I start grabbing the little cards that are like poking out to me or like standing out to me in some way. If there's like one that you see that you're like, no, that was mine. Let me know if you do that in the comment section. I do that all the time. Knight of Cups. Page of Swords. Death. Don't freak out, people in health, okay? I don't predict death. I don't do it ever, okay? So when the death card comes up, that's not what your warning is. Could some of us watching die at some point between now and, you know, the end of our lives? Yup. But, you know, definitely none of us make it out of this alive, but I do not do death predictions. So if you ever see the death card come up and we're doing like a kind of a health look thing, don't ever think that that's popping up as telling you something, okay? Another thing that I will say is that I'm not a medical doctor. You've got to go see a doctor and not just take my advice, okay? 2 of Pentacles. Hi, kiddos. What are you doing? I know. 3 of Pentacles. And King of Cups. Okay. Ugh, my arm itches where they stuck that needle in me. No, I hate that feeling. Ah, okay. Ever notice in movies when like they're going to like use a needle in any scene, they never give you any warning. They just show an up close part of the needle going in. Like, why? So that you don't even, if you're a wuss like me, you don't even have time to look away. Like, why did you do it? Good grief. Okay. With the Knight of Cups, I feel like there is good news coming in for everyone in this group. The Knight of Cups is about somebody reaching out to you, offering you something, you know, and I feel like that something is good news, okay? So I'm not saying like, oh, don't go get checked for cancer because you need to know if you've got that, right? And I'm not a doctor, but I feel like when you do go, there's going to be some element of good news that makes you happy that you went, okay? So like maybe it's something that's not as serious. Maybe it's something that can be controlled with medication. Maybe it's like nothing at all, right? With the person that might have had a crime committed against you, help, you know, somebody's going to want to help you. Someone's going to offer you help. Okay, you might have to reach out for it, but there's an energy there waiting for you to reach out and give you some kind of an emotional support. Okay. Page of Page of Swords. This is about doing your research. Okay, so sometimes, obviously, if you Google your symptoms, it's going to tell you everything under the sun that it might possibly be, and then say, go see a doctor, right? For those of you that had crimes committed against you, there's going to be, certain, statutes of limitation, different laws for different states and countries, etc., and so forth. So here is your guides giving you all advice, including the animal people and people going into medicine for animals. And maybe you're just going into medicine. I don't know. That horse really struck me. That horse struck me. And then I was just talking about how they can kick you to death. That is so flippin' weird. Okay. On a theme. Doing research can really help you understand the situation better. And, even getting on a forum from time to time. I get really good suggestions on forums all the time. Like, have you tried this? Maybe this is something. I recently got off a medication that I've been on for 30 years because somebody said, I tried that and it made me allergic to everything. Have your doctors considered that? And I was like, are you serious right now? Really? Well, yeah, my symptoms kind of started exacerbating and getting worse right around the time I started taking that medicine. So researching is good. And then, of course, I researched what that person told me and found out that, yeah, a lot of people, if they quit taking that, have a huge reduction in allergic reactions to food and things like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, what if that's all it is? I will let you guys know if that's all it is. I'll even tell you what the drug is. Okay. It's birth control. But anyway, they put me on it when I was a kid to regulate me. And then they just kept me on it to keep me regular. And then, of course, I grew up and didn't want to have children. So then I stayed on it. And yeah, I found that out just recently in a forum. So doing research, finding it out, looking the beast in the face, so to speak, researching the animals, researching techniques on how to control your fear around them, techniques on, what do they look like right before they attack, right? What kind of animals attack each other, all those types of things. How do they move their bodies when they feel threatened? Research. Big life change coming for you, okay? It's not physical death. If it's physical death, you're just not going to know about it because I'm not going to tell you about it. I'm not getting anything through like that because I tell my guides from the get, I want no hints, no warnings, unless it's something that I can absolutely 100% pinpoint and change. If I cannot, do not tell me about it. And they've held to their end of the bargain. Okay. I have never predicted a death knowingly. And I certainly didn't from doing a reading. There were times that I predicted death just in conversation, but I didn't know who it was. I didn't know what was happening. It was just one of those situations where, I was telling a class to maybe be extra careful that week because I just had a weird feeling. And then one of them, ended up having something happen to them. And I didn't remember even saying that, but they all remembered, and we're like, oh my gosh, you knew. And I was like, I didn't, if I would have known, I would have warned them, And so please don't worry about that. This is about transformation and change. It can also be about resurrection. And so through knowledge and help from others, you have the ability to change your fate, to bring about, and this is big changes coming your way, and I feel like some of you, it's already changed, people that have been, having somebody do something to you, right? You don't have to juggle this all yourself. Two of Pentacles is about holding two things at once and not being able to set one down. Ask for help. Ask, one of the things that was hard when I started teaching was navigating the emotional pitfalls and the behavioral issues that popped up that I didn't anticipate. And my emotional response to those behavioral pitfalls, especially from parents, not so much the kids. You have like a grown adult that you barely even know come in and just start screaming down at you while you're sitting at your desk is pretty like jarring, you know? And so I would find, you know, seasoned vets, right? And it wasn't always the people that you would think that I would have gone to, like people that weren't in my subject department, right? And be like, what did I do wrong? Did I handle that okay? You know, those types of deals. And what do you do when that happens? And what's the worst case scenario when that happens? You know, it's okay to talk to people with experience in those areas. That's why I really, really, for those of you that are hurting in that way, to call those crisis numbers, because they really do have, you know, professionals for free that can point you in the right direction of what kind of help you need to get, okay? Even if you're worried about medical things. I've called 988 before because I was having a panic attack. And I just didn't have anybody else to talk me down, you know, and I couldn't get myself down. And so I called and was like, help, you know. And it's not like they were like, oh, this was not a big enough emergency. They got right on there. They gave me, you know, some suggestions and all of that fun stuff. I've had clients call them as well when they had gotten themselves into situations or had been put into situations where I couldn't legally help them. And so I gave them that number. They ended up getting back to me saying, oh my gosh, they told me I need to call the police. Thank you so much. You know, things like that. So don't hesitate to reach out for help. You don't have to shoulder this burden all on your own. For those of you with health issue worries, I feel like some of you are maybe hiding the fact that you think something might be wrong from like friends, family, work, etc. And yeah, I feel like if something's going on with your health, that like work, the career impact needs to be like the last people you tell. Just because it might change and then you told everybody for nothing. And then, you know, there is some, you know, I've seen it, discrimination in the workforce when people get sick. And it's not because they don't care, but a lot of times it can get in the way of efficiency at the workplace, which is, you know, their number one job. And so, you know, eventually you have to tell somebody. But I say start with, you know, doctors first, or talking to your family about how you're going to go to the doctor, maybe get somebody to go with you, you know, a trusted friend, whatever you have, 988, whatever you want to do, okay? You're going to have at least 2 to 3 very supportive people coming in, okay? You got both of those. You're also going to possibly make new friends during this journey, okay? Support groups, right? Forums, like-minded people in similar struggles, etc., right? And then that will lead to a more balanced emotional state, feeling like you know how to navigate these waters a little bit better. And, you know, it's going to be okay. Like you know, I can't ever guarantee that things aren't going to, you know, they're going to go south for all of us physically eventually, right? But your guides are showing that by the end of this, you feeling much more emotionally secure than you do right now. Okay. That's for, and like, I love that he's got like a little fish in there for the people that might be going into like working with animals, like taking care of that little fish and knowing how to take care of the little fish. I don't know if people take fish to vets, do they? I would assume they must. I mean, I don't know. I've never owned a fish. I'm probably not allergic to a fish. I just don't want to clean a tank. Same thing with caged animals. I don't want to clean a cage. Okay, let's get you some final advice, words of encouragement, anything like that. Thank you. 7 of Swords. And 7 of Cups. I'm going to get another card for these. Seven of Swords, when we're not talking about lies and deception, which I don't feel like is part of this reading at all. Other than maybe like, don't lie to yourself or whatever. But like, Seven of Swords is like about having skill, like learning a skill, being skilled at something. It can also indicate holding on to something too tightly. So don't hold on to your thoughts too tightly or to your fear too tightly if you can, right? Finding a way to let that go. Finding a way to see the picture clearly by isolating each, emotional response and figuring out a way to, navigate, right? Lots of opportunities are coming up on how to deal with this situation. I think there's lots of information that you haven't gotten yet. And so your guides are saying to, let go and lean into being skilled at researching, leaning into being skilled at communicating, leaning into developing those skills and learning how to take one emotion at a time if you can, or one worry at a time if you can. Okay. I want one more card. I see it. 5 of Wands. Yeah. I was saying tell somebody. It might be better to not tell an entire group because you'll get conflicting opinions on how you should do something. The scene in Breaking Bad where he tells his family he has cancer and he doesn't really want to seek treatment for it because he's worried about the quality of his life going down so much that he won't enjoy the time he has left if it doesn't work. And they all have their own opinion on what he should be doing, right? And so keep it, maybe talk to a professional first or a 988-111 person and ask them for tips on how to navigate telling your family about health worries, telling your family that something happened to you, or telling, the people around you at your work or however it is if you're working with animals about your apprehension, right? And then just kind of work from there. You don't need to disclose it to a ton of people, right? You've got people that are going to come in and help you automatically. So kind of avoid the clamor of people who might give you a bunch of differing opinions. I want one more. Okay, 2 more. My goodness. Okay. You aren't going to be able to make an informed decision or the correct decision if you don't look at the situation. And I know that's this reading is ending with the hard advice from your guides. It's a little bit more tough talk, but sometimes, they have to get to that point. I have to be tough talked sometimes to make a decision. And then 4 of Swords, don't stay silent forever, right? Come forward with what's going on with you, even with a stranger on the phone on 988, right? That's something that your guides want you to focus on. Spirit, can you give them a message of hope for us to end this off? I love it. This is about healing. It's about being protected. It's about having the strength to recover. She's taking care. This is also one of the vet cards because she's doctoring a lion usually in the traditional sense. Okay. Thank you, spirits. What a beautiful way to end the reading here. Hang in there. Let me know what's going on if you feel comfortable in the comments. Give me topic ideas there as well. If you'd like to book a private reading, there are ways to do so in the description box. I'm sending you so much positive vibration that I hope you can feel it right now. Okay? Take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Hello, group 4. So if you picked the Onyx... Oof, these have been some crazy readings today, so prepare yourself. You have the Unicorn card, which is Invite Serendipity. Do you remember Serendipity book? Some of you might have read that when you were little. Serendipity. I'm going to read you the definition off of vocabulary.com here. Good luck in making unexpected and fortunate discoveries. Good fortune, good luck, a stroke of luck. Oh, yay, finally. The other ones were a lot of I mean, I shouldn't even get ahead of myself. Like a lot of like struggle energy. Okay. This is actually saying that you have good luck coming in. Lucky enough, like finding a unicorn lucky. Unless it was the unicorn in Cabin in the Woods, and then maybe not so lucky if you found that unicorn. That was that movie where the unicorn like stabs that guy with its horn. It was like the only recorded like film where they actually, the unicorn actually killed someone. It's so funny. Anyway, let me know if you saw that movie. It's like if you like horror movies, they kind of advertised it in a way that made people think they were just going to go see a horror movie, but it was actually like more of like a parody of horror movies, and with a lot of layers of plot that was way different than what I've ever seen. It was very comical. And so anyway, if you like things that aren't just like your typical average run-of-the-mill horror movie, then Cabin in the Woods might be for you. 8 people either, like, and there's like 2 groups of people, the ones that loved that movie and the ones that hated it. And like the people that hated it hate the people that loved it. So the people that didn't love it sometimes hate the people, or the people that did love it sometimes hate the people that didn't. But, not me. If you didn't like it, that's cool. So yeah, it's like this feeling of, there's a lot of feminine energy here. Invite good luck. So there is something kind of coming through for you that kind of came through for one of the other groups. And that was, I want you to practice, instead of worrying about what might go wrong, because a lot of times we worry about what might go wrong to try to be prepared for it, or even be able to avoid something happening that we don't want to happen. It's actually healthier and better for manifesting good things. And this is completely opposite of what I've been doing my entire life up until like maybe the last 2-3 years or so, right? Of imagining maybe it will work out. Maybe, instead of saying, oh, I'm so worried this might happen, I'm so worried that might happen, what if this happens, what if that happens? It's like, I'm so excited to watch this work out. I'm so excited that this might be very, very lucky. I'm so excited that this might be a really cool experience. Like instead of being like, I'm so scared the plane's going to crash, like, I'm so excited to fly, right? Okay, I had to do that because I was scared of flying. And I listened to a lot of really, really hard Rammstein while I was flying, which makes me more brave. Listen to Rammstein at the dentist. It'll make you feel like, I can do it. I can do it. At least it does for me. Don't do it if you are annoyed by Rammstein. That might not be good. Invite luck. Invite luck in all aspects. I'm getting a lot of like romance vibes, like worried about the other shoe dropping. If that's the case, you might want to look in on pile 2. But any kind, this is like a lot, whatever. I feel like this is a very universal group that could end up drawing on a lot of different people over time. Whatever you've got going on in your life, your guides want you to start picturing it going well, things happening and making it lucky. That doesn't mean go quit your job because you're going to manifest yourself winning the lottery, and so you quit your job before you win the lottery. That means like, play the lottery, I guess. Don't break your bank and imagine winning, while you're still keeping your job. That's a very extreme scenario. Imagine, one of the things that I used to manifest with my husband, because I was always so worried that one of us was going to die before we even got started. Isn't that a weird fear to have? But I did. And it was because I knew people that had just gotten started that lost, the love of their life, like in like an accident or something. And that terrified me. Even just like thinking that something bad would happen, it was so scary for me. I was like, keep in mind I was 17, guys. Don't give me a bunch of crud. Don't you judge me, Charlotte. But anyway, somebody out there named Charlotte's like, or Carol is like, oh, Miriam, why do you always single me out like this? But anyway, one of the things I would do to try to manifest it instead of worrying about what I would do, having the knock on the door and the cops are standing there saying, guess what? Bad news, stuff like that. And that would lead into racing thoughts and panic attacks and all of that stuff because I've got PTSD. So I would imagine just us laying in bed side by side, holding hands, but our hands are all old and wrinkly. That's an image and our feet, our bare feet being old and wrinkly, right? Just lying next to each other and still being together. Okay. Now do I have a guarantee that's going to happen? Of course not. There are no guarantees. Everybody out there has free will and decisions change outcomes. Okay. Actions change outcomes, but we made it through that phase at least so that I'm in a better place now. Now, if something did happen, God forbid, knock on wood, yada, 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 I wouldn't just lay down and die without him. Does that make sense? And I wouldn't want him to do that for me. If that happened, I would want him to find happiness and find a way to move on. All of that good stuff. And so I at least manifested it so it didn't happen to me when I was in such a vulnerable state, because I might have, hurt myself if something would have happened to him, not if we had broken up or anything, but if something had happened to him, it would have destroyed me back in the beginning. Okay. So I'm feeling a lot of new love vibes, worry over loved ones, new parent worries, those kinds of things. Your guides want you to invite in serendipity, meaning invite in good fortune, invite in it working out for you. It's okay. It's the healthier thing to do for your brain. Just like if you hate exercising, it's still better to exercise for your body than to not. It's better to imagine things working out as opposed to sitting and worrying that they might not. Okay. And a lot of times it's a really hard switch to make. I have to do it all the flipping time. And I might not ever get to the point where it's automatic. I mean, I'm 43. How long is it going to take me to figure out how to get better? But I have hope for you guys, but I'm working on it. I'm getting there. The first time I flew in a plane, I was, this close from being that person on the plane that they have to restrain because you start freaking out so bad that it starts freaking out the other passengers. And the only thing that was keeping me from freaking out like that was knowing that I couldn't just hop out of the plane, right? Because I felt like I'd made a huge mistake getting on that plane. And I knew that, if I freaked out like that, then a bunch of people might restrain me, or, passengers might get involved in trying to restrain you because you freaked them out so bad, right? I've seen those things happen, and I knew those things could happen. And so that was the only thing that kept me from freaking out. The flight back, I wasn't as scared because I was so hungover. I was just puking in that little plastic or paper bag the whole time. The poor guy that was sitting next to us. He was a big guy too. So I was touching him while I was vomiting. 8 people leave the channel. They're like, that's enough of that. She talked about vomiting. It's gross. Okay. Let's get into some of your individual situations and some advice. Oh, I was going to say, but the second time I took a plane ride, I spent the whole week beforehand saying, I can't wait to fly. I'm so excited to fly. I'm so excited to get a window seat and get to take pictures out the window. And oh my gosh, I got a window seat on almost every flight that I was on because I had to hop on a couple of different ones in that particular case. And those are the only 2 times I've flown. I mean, technically, 5 times or whatever, because I had to hop a couple of different planes. And then, of course, there's a trip back, right? So let's get some individual situations and advice. We have the Chariot. What a beautiful card. The 8 of Wands, also a beautiful card, very positive. 5 of Pentacles, not so positive, but it's not something bad that's going to happen. It's about worrying. 10 of Cups. Those of you who are about romance, Out of all the romance cards in the entire deck of tarot, 10 of Cups is the one that I like the most. Okay. And so when you get that in a reading with me, like you're in a very ideal romantic situation. Gross. Wow, 10 of Pentacles. My goodness. And 6 of Swords. Okay. I love this. Oh my gosh. Okay. So some of the situations that are coming out is like new love. Okay. New parents. It could be like new jobs because we have the Pentacles there. It could be like new, like you're switching jobs or you're looking for a house. This can be about looking for a house. So you're moving from one area to another. You're getting together with somebody. You're navigating parenthood, right? And that can cause worry. The worries being that I see are, somebody dying, something bad happening, not having enough money to take care of them, not having enough money to take care of yourself, like being rejected. Oh my goodness, all those fears. The cool thing about the 5 of Pentacles is that the fear is not real. It's just fear. It's just worry. Okay. And in the 5 of Pentacles card, there's always the salvation right behind them. They just aren't looking at it right this second because they're so consumed with worry. Okay. And they have good reason to be worried. I'm not saying you don't. I'm not saying like, just be happy and don't worry about anything. Me. I remember people telling me that all the time when, something bad was going to happen. Right. Or I thought something bad was going to happen. They're like, just don't worry about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I not do that? So I get it, Let your mind imagine it. Your mind can really take you through those worst case scenario thoughts very quickly and vividly. Try to sit down and take some breaths and be like, I'm going to really lean in to imagining this working out well, during that scary second flight, right? I listened to really hard music that makes me feel like I can fight, I can do anything. And it was also the music of the band I was going to go see that I've been waiting to see forever, and then waited to see them for even longer because my tickets, got delayed because of the whole, global event that kept us all indoorsy for a while. That whole thing. And so like I tried to be like, I can't wait till I land. And I can't wait to, and it was kind of fun. I can't wait to meet my husband at a different terminal because we both took separate flights and met somewhere. So we got to like meet up and like give each other a hug and a kiss in front of all the other passengers. And I don't know why that was such a fun thing for me to do. But it was a fun thing to think about. Like, I also like being the person, like when you're getting your bag and things, that can be really, really like, and you're looking for your terminal, it can be very like jarring. And I'm like, I don't want to get lost. But at the same time, I would walk around with this like persona of, I do this all the time. Like all these people that see me, I could be anybody. I could be a spy. I could be a performer. I could be somebody who just does this all the time. I could be like a wandering nomad that just goes from country to country until I've seen them all. All these things that I would never do. But it helped me. It helped me through the terminal part, It helped me sitting there like thinking like, I could be anybody. I could be going anywhere. Nobody knows, Nobody knows what I'm doing. And it even helped me to the point where when I finally got back to the original airport, when I was a different person, because I'd just been to a flippin' Rammstein concert. That'll change you. It's more like a ride than a show. Scary. So anyway, there's just a lot of people all packed together, and then a lot of like hard metal music kind of stuff. And so people tend to mosh more, and a little tiny creature like me is very fragile. When I came back, I couldn't figure out my way out of the airport that I was in, even though it was the one I started in. But when I got there the first time, it was nighttime. I was a different person. I had just driven for a long time. On the way back out, it was daytime. I was a different person, And so I just walked up to a desk and I said, what's the fastest way to come out of here to get out to my car? And the guy like and it was like a kid, like compared to me, like kind of chortled. I was like, oh, you don't know how to get to your car. And I had my little knapsack on because I carry on so that they don't lose my stuff. And I was like, don't you shame me, boy. I'm a different person than I was when I was here a week ago. You have no idea where I've been or what I've been through. And yeah, I needed some assistance finding my car. And he's like, okay, I'm sorry. I was like, dang right you are. Watch your step with me. And like normally I wouldn't do that. I'd just be like all sheepish and be like, oh God, that was embarrassing. Like, don't you shame me. I think I even said something that wasn't true. Like, oh, okay, thank you so much. Like, try to keep in mind I might have been in a whole different country like 10 hours ago. And he totally was like, like, because he realized, yeah, that's probably true. I just have spatial disorientation. And so I can walk into a building and then try to find my way back out again. It looks totally different. It's so severe that when I'm driving somewhere, it doesn't matter how many times I've gone on that drive or ridden on that drive, right? When I'm driving, everything looks different to me than it did before. And I'm like, why? What was that? Am I on the wrong road? Like everything looks different all of a sudden. It's freaking me out. So like, sometimes it's important for me to ask for directions or I might become quite lost. And then the more lost I get, the more disoriented and freaked out I become. So anyway, I was just so proud of myself how I handled that. I think he was too. He probably talked to people differently after that, that's for sure. So like with the new love people and, buying a house, changing jobs, moving locations, okay? All these cards that are coming out are positive, even the ones that don't look like it so much. And this is why. The Chariot can show somebody trying to wrangle two things in at once, right? That are hard to wrangle in. But in this particular instance, they're not even harnessed. This person isn't even riding behind them. This person is just standing there between them and they're like bowing their heads in deference and unity with this person. That's like things pulling together and coming together even more than the Chariot card usually portrays. And I love this card. Okay. So, like trying to keep you and your lover together. You don't have to fight for each other. Nah, it's already divinely inspired. You're already exactly where you want to be. Okay. Same thing with moving. Same thing with getting a new job. It's already written in the stars. Okay. Fast, inspiring, exciting, wonderful change is coming to you. Yay! Imagine that happening. Don't imagine about what could go wrong, right? Don't imagine that. Don't worry about your flight not getting there in time. If your flight doesn't get in on time, there's a reason, and maybe an adventure waiting. Maybe you get to stay in a nice classy hotel because they screwed up your flight. I don't know. Maybe they put you in first class on this other flight because there's an empty seat and they just need to get you where you need to go. And so you get to do that, right? Maybe, missing your flight ends up bringing you, into meeting somebody that gives you a new job or becomes your new lover. I don't know. Okay. The Five of Pentacles worry is just in your mind. All the good stuff is right there, right in front of you. You just need to turn around and look at it. You just need to see it. You just need to allow yourself to think that it might be possible that it's there, that it's going to work out. 10 of Cups is about things working out wonderfully for romance, for finances, for moving, for changing jobs. It's about coming home, finding your home, okay, making it home, making a life together. The 10 of Pentacles is also about making enough money to not only take care of yourself, but to take care of you, your spouse, your children, your grandchildren, all of that, having more than enough. Okay. So if you're like worried about changing jobs, like about money being tight, etc. and so forth, about a move, about buying a house, you're going to have enough. You're going to have more than enough. And then for the 6 of Swords, there's this divine hand like guiding this little boat through the air. And like the way that I always see this, like it's like there's trouble left behind with the Six of Swords, right? Sometimes that trouble behind is kind of following you a little bit, but it's not actually, it can't actually hurt you unless you let it hurt you mentally, okay, not physically. I always picture it as like the person getting away in the boat. And have you seen those old cartoons where like, or movies where like they just like close the doors, they're running away, and like 8 daggers just like and like stick in the boat or stick in the door, but they don't hit you, right? It means like making your way, having divine protection, leaving troubled pasts behind, that kind of energy. Okay, let's go ahead and get some more advice for you. So you guys have such a lucky reading. You're going to be shorter than the rest of them. We're 9 of Cups, wish fulfillment. Your wishes are coming true. Lean into this. If you start feeling doubts, come watch this video again. Like, stick it in your playlist, because this is such a beautiful message from your guides, you know. And yes, I love you to watch me too. But honestly, like I do that sometimes. I'm like, I need to remember this message. And so I'll save it in a playlist of like, you know, pick a card things that actually resonated, that are good news, you know, like that I need to watch again and remind myself, okay, your wishes are coming true. Queen of Wands, also very positive, like making your own fortune, falling in love, being passionate, being okay on your own, but also like having everything you need and want. Not being afraid. 3 of Cups, wonderful people coming towards you. Wonderful times, celebrations, unity. Yeah, like parties over like your accomplishments, those kinds of things. People dancing at your wedding, gross. Page of Cups, good times with friends, good times with family, just having, genuinely enjoying life like a young, careless person, right? Ugh, I love it. Other advice, Spirit, or just more good news you want to give them? 2 of Pentacles, let go of the side that you're worried about being negative and just hold on to the side that is positive. Okay, that doesn't mean that you're in denial and that you're going to miss something that's super important. It just means that your brain is focusing on, I was trying to say function and focus at the same time. Focusing on this amazing like potential, this amazing wish fulfillment, this amazing adventure coming towards you. For many of you, it's already in the bag, baby. And then we have the Star in reverse. I'm feeling some doubt. I want to give you something else to give you more hope. 6 of Wands, being like, yeah, another celebration card, another victory card. You have everything that you need from this, okay? You have everything that you need to make this happen. You just need to believe that it's happening. And with that, I'm going to leave you. If this is helpful, tell me how in the comment section. Give me topic ideas there as well. It's raining. Can you hear it? If you would like a private reading, there's ways to do so in the description box, my friends. Take care. This was a fun one and very positive. I hope that this made you feel better. Okay, we'll see you next time.